our guy Xavier Scruggs. What's going on, brother? Thank you for making some time to join me today.
What's going on, Jay?
Ah, man, I appreciate you, brother. Listen, you just got back from Arizona, man. I saw you took the fam out there. What was your biggest takeaway from going out there to Arizona, seeing some ball out there, seeing kind of how the other side lives? We're so used to, sunshine ball here in Florida. But what was your big takeaway from going out there to Arizona?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just like everything is so close out there. The weather was nice. When you think about being able to play multiple different teams, that's what it's all about. Like spring training can be so redundant when it's slow and you're playing. Say you're in West Palm and you're playing the same four teams, right? It can be tough. But over there, you get so many different options because every team is like maybe 30 minutes away from each spot. So got to visit a bunch of different teams, hit a bunch of different spots, but also one of my biggest takeaways was looking at the Oakland A's, a team that is young but has spent some money this offseason, and not a lot of people are counting them to be one of the top favorites of the AL West, but they look to be a strong team here going into the season.
What was it like to meet Was that the first time you met Ichiro?
No, I actually played with Ichiro in 2016. I was on the same
Nice.
team with him with the
Oh, with the
with the
Marlins. With
Marlins.
the
So
Marlins. Okay, okay.
yeah, so he's definitely it was cool getting to catch up with them, congratulate him for being Hall of Famer, and just catching up with an old teammate. We have a close thing, as far as a close group that was with that Marlins team, in which unfortunately we lost Jose Fernandez. So, but adversity like that keeps guys close together.
We always remember that home run. What was that home run like to see D Gordon hit that home run after we lost Jose?
Yeah, that was an unreal moment. Real, it like literally, it did not feel like we were playing baseball. It felt like it was something out of a movie. It was something that none of us will ever forget too, just because of all the heartbreak that was going on during that time. But it reminds you that there's things that are bigger than baseball, right? Life is much bigger than the sport itself, and it keeps things under perspective.
Yeah, I'm at Amelie right now. They got the national anthem in the background, so that's why I keep muting the mic. I remember coaching against Jose Fernandez in high school. Man, it's pretty wild that
Wow.
how just the years go by, and it's been so long since it seems like he was just here. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Rays, man, going into the season? Obviously, good news that Shane McClanahan isn't going to be out for as long as we thought. Just a nerve issue. Ryan Pepio will get the nod on opening day. But what are your thoughts on the Rays and where they stack up in the AL East, coming up in the 2025 season?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, right? The division is extremely tough. It's a division in which you have to have your ace starting pitcher. And unfortunately, the way you can look at the Shane McClanahan thing is, yeah, he'll be out for a little bit. And that's going to hurt them for a little bit. But the good thing is they have depth in starting pitching. That's the one thing that you're going into the season hoping that you have, and you get Rasmussen back, obviously Shane Boss, you have, Bradley. There's guys that can still fill the need. And a lot of rotations in Major League Baseball are not as deep as the Tampa
Right.
Bay Rays. So that's one thing you're leaning on, right? Pitching and defense in a major way. They have to figure out a way to get offense going. To me, that's going to be the focus for them, is how are they going to score runs on a nightly basis, specifically in their division, in which offenses are extremely tough. They're going to need guys to step up. They're going to need Yandy Diaz to kind of turn around a tough part of early on last
Mm-hmm.
season, right? They're going to need whether it be Josh Lowe, whether it be Brandon Lau. It's going to be guys that are going to have to provide some juice in the middle of the order to get to really run produce here.
What about the rest of the teams in the AL East? Who are you looking at as far as the top dogs there?
Honestly, after the Garrett Cole injury, I'm looking at Boston is going to be tough. Like they
Yeah.
have a healthy rotation going into the season. Obviously free agent signings were big for them, going and getting the Alex Bregman as a consistent performer that can play third base. It looks like be a situation where him playing third, maybe Devers DHing, but now you also have young players coming up. A Christian Campbell has looked to make this team at second base. They have all the pieces in order for them to make a postseason run. It just depends on how healthy they stay. And the same thing goes for every other team in that division.
Let's talk about what else you're seeing in the American League as far as, you look at, the Guardians. Are they a team that takes a step forward? You look out west, are the Mariners that team? Because I feel like Seattle's one of those teams with, especially with the starting pitching. Well, they could be a team if they get the right bats at the right time. Seattle's a team that nobody wants to play come postseason because you got guy after guy after guy that's thrown in the upper 90s.
Yeah. I think you mentioned a good point. Like Seattle, when we talk about pitching, they have it. They have everything that they need. That was just about the offense, kind of what we talked about with the Rays. The team that I'm still weary of is the Astros. Like, they're still going to be an extremely tough team, and they have all their pitchers back from last year from a starting standpoint. They still have one of the game's best closers, and Hader. And then you look at now they've added Isaac Paredes, who, was traded from the Rays over to the Cubs last year. You've added, another outfielder in Cam Smith as a rookie who's had an amazing spring training. And then you think about there's flexibility there. They have so many guys to where now they can move Altuve to left field. Yordan Alvarez is still one of the best hitters in this game. Now, the loss of Kyle Tucker will be significant, but you also add a Christian Walker to this lineup. So
Right.
there's a lot of work that they did this offseason in order for them to maintain a really talented roster. And I don't think we can discount what they've done for the past 7-8 years.
Yeah, I love the patience at the plate for Christian Walker, and I think that goes hand in hand with how Houston approaches the game with Altuve and Alvarez and those guys. I feel like Isaac Paredes was built to play there, right? Strict pull, right? That short porch kind of thing. I don't want to say short porch, but left field. If he doesn't hit 30 home runs this year, I think that'll be a crime. What about the National League, man? I mean, you look at the East, you look at some of the big studs out there with the Phils and the Braves, and what happens with the Mets. Now they get Juan Soto. You and I, we spoke about Juan Soto last time and his departure going to the Mets. Let's start in the NL East. How do you see that whole thing shaking out? Because it seems like every year Atlanta has another guy that they go, oh yeah, here's another dude that can, he could throw 98 and he's going to start and he could go 7 strong every day.
Yeah. Atlanta's going to be tough. I still look at the Phillies as the top of this class. I know Atlanta had a lot of injuries last year, and they still were able to perform well enough to be right there. But the Phillies, from a superstar level, and also to a depth level, they outweigh every team in the National League East to me. Last year they got off to a good start, and that's one thing they hadn't done over the previous couple of years. I'll be interested to see which team gets off to a hot start because I think that could be really the definition of what this division looks like, even for the Mets. If they get off to a good start themselves, look like they have some pitching. There's a lot of uncertainty with their starting pitching. The offense looks to be pretty much the same, and you bring into Juan Soto into the fold. That's a good thing, but pitching, there's uncertainty, so I can't put them at the top at the moment.
Right.
But they will surprise teams, and they will be just as solid as they were last year, if not better. A lot of it just depends on what happens with that staff. But I got the Phillies at the top of this NL East.
I'm excited about the Nationals too. A guy that I coached when he was 10 years old, Trey Lipscomb on the Nationals. So really great to see him. And there's some good young talent there. So we'll see. Probably not going to be at the top of the list, but, just guys that are, sometimes those young, they don't know any better, right? Everybody else is looking at them. Oh, yeah, don't forget about us. How about the Central? The Central, everybody kind of forgets about the Brewers, it seems like, going into the season, yet they ball out every year. But you lose an emotional leader like Willy Adames, he goes to San Francisco. I look at the Cubbies and I go, you get Tucker. I feel like this is kind of the time for Chicago to make a move. All right. I know Cincinnati's got good young players. Pittsburgh's got some good young players. Still trying to see what St. Louis is all about. But I feel like now's the time for the Cubs to take a step forward. Do you agree with that?
No, I do. I look at, they
There was obviously some injuries as well. Um, so it just so much of it, Jay, depends on the course of the season and whether or not you stay healthy, especially from a starting pitching standpoint. I still like the Brewers, even though with the loss of Adames. I thought seeing what they did last year, going and being able to use, what was it, like 20 something different starting pitchers, and still get to where they got to. Yes, they'll lose Devin Williams, but they still have a strong bullpen. I still like the Brewers. It's going to be close with the Cubs. I think it's a Cubs team that went out, made moves. They recognize the window that they're in. They recognize their front office is maybe out of jobs if they don't win either, as well. And they have Craig Counsell, who, they're paying the top dollar to. So they're going to be tough as well. But Cincinnati, to me, you make a great point. It's a team that's young. It's fun. They go get Tito Francona, and they're going to be tough to beat. And, I'm not going to count out, the Pirates are not a team to me that is going to win this division, but it's still going to be one of those tough teams to beat with the three-headed monster of Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, and Jared Jones in that rotation too.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Skeens on the mound again. I don't know if you saw that video the other day of this is how it looks like if you hit Paul Skeens, and it was just like some AI thing, and it was just everything had some kind of movement on it, and it was like, oh, here's 98 with a tail on it. Like, yeah, no thanks, I'm good on that. And then the NL West. I mean, the Dodgers get another guy and another guy and another guy, but who's that second team though? Is it San Fran? Is it the Padres? Or I feel like Arizona, we forget they were in the World Series a couple years ago. They went out and got Corbin Burns. They made a switch. They went away from Christian Walker. They brought in Josh Naylor. I feel like Arizona is one of those teams again, X, that they're lurking right there in plain sight. Everybody else can have and do what they want, but Torey Lovullo is like, fine, we're good. We'll do our thing here because they got some unbelievable starters as well. I think the NL West, even though we know who's number one, there's some really good freaking teams out there.
Yeah, I think you might have cut out for a second, but I think, you make a great point about the D-backs. I think when you add an ace like a Corbin Burns, you're expecting to compete. And for the amount of years that they added him, they're going to be doing that multiple years, right? Trying to compete for multiple seasons. Something still tells me to be a little bit weary of the Padres. Still some good, solid starting pitching when you talk about Dylan Cease, Michael King, and they have the superstars as well. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, and now you could throw, Jackson Merrill in that conversation as well. So I like the Padres, and I specifically like the manager and Mike Schilt, who was my former manager with the Cardinals. This is a guy that understands, clubhouse culture. He completely turned that around a 180. We saw what the Padres did, arguably the best team in the second half of last year. So I'm looking at the Dodgers competing with the Padres and the D-backs. The Giants are going to put up numbers too, but it's going to be, to me, it's going to come down to the Dodgers and Padres ultimately fighting it out.
X, before I let you go, is there a team or a player that we haven't mentioned yet that, and this is why I love, you don't just follow the same path as everybody else. You're looking at things from a different perspective. Is there a team or is there a player that you're looking at that is not getting nearly enough of the attention before the season starts?
I mean, he's probably getting attention, but we touched on the Cincinnati Reds. I think Ellie De La Cruz is turning into the face of baseball. When you can hit the home run, when you can steal the base, when you can throw as hard as anybody else, and do it, at such a young age, and for a team that's up and coming, I just tell everybody to keep their eyes on Ellie De La Cruz, because I think he's just now touching the surface of what he could possibly be, and I think he's going to dominate this league.
X, let everybody know when they can find you. What you got going on this week, man? I know we could find you anywhere, not just in the country, around the world.
Yeah,
we
man.
never know. Where are you going to be this week? This weekend?
Opening week. I'll be ESPN. I'll be on MLB on opening day, and then on Friday I will be Apple TV Plus. I'll be in Houston for the Houston and Mets series. that kicks off opening day. So yeah, just stay tuned. I'll be out there, but definitely make sure you check in on Apple TV Plus on Fridays.
Yeah, no doubt. We know our friend Trisha Whitaker is going to be over there too, so make sure you say hello. Xavier _ Scruggs, the one and only, one of my favorites to catch up with and also to follow on all social media. He's not just a great baseball mind, but also a really awesome human being. He's one of those people I tell everybody, like, you meet people in this industry and you wonder, like, are they really like that? And no, X isn't like that. He's even better. He's the man, great husband, great father, and a great friend. So, X, I appreciate you. Be well, my friend. Enjoy the start of the season, and we'll catch up soon, buddy.
You too. Thanks for having me, Jay.
You got it, pal. Xavier.